Welcome back to Papu, and I'm here with you, as always, taking a closer look at the moments in sports that go beyond the scoreboard and into something much bigger. What does it really mean when a match becomes more than just a match? When a rising young player steps onto one of the biggest stages in tennis, not just to compete, but to carry expectations, attention, and a growing digital spotlight that never turns off? That's the question surrounding Alex Eala versus Magda Linette at the Miami Open, a match that on the surface looks like a simple clash between two professionals, but underneath reveals something far more complex about modern tennis. Here's what happened, briefly. Alex Eala, one of the most talked about young talents in the sport right now, faced Magda Linette, an experienced and established player, in a Miami Open match that quickly drew attention online. Not just because of the tennis, but because of how widely it spread. Streams, clips, reactions, and commentary flooding social media almost instantly. The phrase, "watch free before it's taken down," started circulating, turning a regular tour match into a kind of digital event. But what matters here is not just who won or lost. What matters is what this moment represents. Alex Eala is not just playing opponents anymore. She's playing expectations. She's playing narratives that are being written in real time by fans, media, and algorithms. Every match becomes a story, every point becomes a clip, and every reaction becomes part of a larger identity being shaped in public. And when she steps on court against someone like Magda Linette, the contrast is striking. Linette represents experience, stability, and a career built over years of steady performance. Eala represents potential, momentum, and the unpredictable nature of rising fame. It's not just youth versus experience, it's also future versus present, hype versus proof. Watching this match, what stands out is not just the rallies, but the emotional rhythm. Eala's game carries energy, but also moments of visible pressure. That's not unusual for a young player, but today's environment amplifies it. Every mistake can be clipped, replayed, and discussed within seconds. Every success can be celebrated just as quickly, but also dissected. This creates a unique kind of mental challenge. In previous generations, players dealt with pressure from crowds and traditional media. Now they are dealing with a constant invisible audience that reacts instantly and globally. It's not just about handling a breakpoint, it's about handling perception, and that's where this match becomes interesting from a deeper perspective. Magda Linette, in contrast, plays with a kind of quiet control. There's less noise around her, less constant scrutiny. That doesn't mean less pressure, but it's a different kind. Her career has been shaped over time, not accelerated by viral moments. Watching her in this match feels like watching someone who understands how to manage pace, not just in rallies, but in the flow of a career. So, when these two players meet, it's almost like two timelines intersecting. One is building steadily, the other is accelerating quickly. And that acceleration is not always easy to manage, because here's the reality of modern sports. Visibility is no longer optional. If you're talented and you start winning, you will be seen. And once you are seen, you are also judged, analyzed, and sometimes misunderstood. For Alex Eala, this match is not just about advancing in a tournament, it's about learning how to exist in that visibility, how to stay focused when your name is trending, how to stay grounded when clips of your performance are being shared with captions that may or may not reflect reality. And this is where the conversation shifts from tennis to something broader. Social media has changed the way we experience sports. Matches are no longer contained within stadiums or broadcasts. They live online, fragmented into moments. A single rally can define a narrative. A single expression can become a headline. The phrase, "watch free before it's taken down," is a perfect example of this shift. It reflects a kind of urgency that has less to do with the sport itself and more to do with how content is consumed. It turns a professional match into something that feels almost underground, even though it's part of a major tournament. That changes how fans engage. It also changes how players are perceived. Instead of watching a full match and understanding its context, many viewers see only highlights or specific moments.
This can create a distorted view of performance. A player might be playing well overall, but a few mistakes get amplified, or a single great shot becomes the defining image of the match. For a young player like Eala, this can be both an opportunity and a challenge. The opportunity is obvious: exposure, recognition, a growing fan base. But the challenge is more subtle. It's about maintaining a sense of self in an environment that constantly reflects different versions of you back at you. And in this match against Linette, you can see glimpses of that balance being tested. Moments of confidence followed by moments of hesitation, not because of lack of skill, but because of the weight of the moment. And that weight is not just coming from the opponent, it's coming from expectations, from attention, from the knowledge that everything is being watched, recorded, and shared. Magda Linette, on the other hand, brings a different kind of presence. There's a steadiness to her game that reflects experience, not just in technique, but in mindset. She knows how to navigate matches without getting pulled into external noise. That's something that often comes with time. And this contrast creates a kind of narrative tension that goes beyond the scoreline.
It raises questions about how players develop in this era. Is it better to rise slowly, building resilience over time? Or is rapid exposure an advantage, giving players confidence and recognition early? There's no simple answer, because every player is different. Every journey is unique. But what this match shows is that the environment itself has changed. Tennis is no longer just about physical and technical skill. It's also about managing attention, about understanding how to exist in a space where your performance is constantly being interpreted. And that brings us back to the idea of privacy. In many ways, professional athletes have always lived public lives, but the level of access today is unprecedented. Fans don't just watch matches, they follow players' lives, their reactions, their emotions. This can create a sense of connection, which is positive, but it can also blur boundaries. For a young player like Alex Eala, finding that boundary is crucial. How much do you share? How much do you keep private? How do you protect your mental space while still engaging with a global audience? These are questions that previous generations didn't have to answer in the same way, and they don't have easy solutions. What we can say is that matches like this one are not just about competition, they are part of a larger process of growth. Every point played is also a lesson. Every moment of pressure is an opportunity to build resilience. And that's what makes this story compelling. It's not about a single result, it's about a trajectory. Alex Eala is still at the beginning of her journey. Matches like this against experienced opponents like Magda Linette are part of what shapes that journey. They test not just skill, but mindset. They reveal strengths and expose areas for growth. And perhaps most importantly, they provide context, because in the middle of all the noise, social media, headlines, viral clips, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Development takes time. Consistency takes time. Understanding how to handle pressure takes time. And that's something worth remembering, especially in an era that values instant results. As viewers, we also play a role in this environment. The way we consume content, the way we react, the way we discuss players, it all contributes to the atmosphere around the sport. We can choose to focus only on highlights and quick judgments, or we can take a more thoughtful approach. We can recognize that behind every clip is a human being navigating a complex set of challenges, and that perspective changes how we see matches like this one. Instead of just asking who won, we start asking what was learned. Instead of focusing only on outcomes, we look at processes. Instead of reacting instantly, we reflect. And that reflection brings us to the final thought. Why does this matter beyond tennis? Because what we're seeing here is not just about one sport. It's about how performance, visibility, and identity intersect in the modern world. Athletes are not just competitors anymore, they are also public figures, navigating a digital landscape that is constantly evolving. Their experiences reflect broader questions about attention, pressure, and balance. And in that sense, a match like Alex Eala versus Magda Linette becomes more than just a sporting event. It becomes a window into how individuals grow under pressure, how they adapt to changing environments, and how they find their place in a world that is always watching. That's what makes it worth paying attention to, not just for the result, but for the story it tells. And that's all for today on Bella.